Hey everyone, welcome back and thanks for joining me once again. This is Upon Further Review with Sean Tomlin. We're going to break down everything that happened around the NFL this past weekend, and we're going to look ahead to see what happens in next week's action, along with a bunch of fantasy information that you might need to know, and what happened in our Clusterfuck Fantasy League, Clusterfuck 2. All right, everything started on Thursday night, so let's look back at Week 12 and see what happened. It all started off with Houston and the Bills. This was an awesome matchup. The Bills got absolutely destroyed by the Texans. Josh Allen was sacked 8 times, threw 2 interceptions. Texans defense looked amazing. The score was 23-19 for the Texans. Although it really wasn't that close all night, it looked a lot closer than it should have been. It was definitely a Texans night from the get-go. Then, in our Sunday action, we started off with the Bears versus the Steelers, and the Bears got a slim victory, 31-28 over the not Ben Roethlisberger. Come on now, am I that old? Am I dating myself? The Rodgers-less Steelers went up against the Bears. Bears got that victory, 31-28, like I just said. It was a very close match. It was up and down the field all day. Really saw the Steelers probably being able to take this victory, but the Bears were able to take this one easily, although their running game just wasn't there all day. It was all Caleb Williams. In our next matchup, it was the Chiefs versus the Colts, and unfortunately, the Chiefs got the victory, 23-20 in overtime. For some reason, Shane Steichen just decided not to play Jonathan Taylor as much as he should. I don't know why you don't play your best player, but they just didn't run him. They didn't run him enough. And statistically, when Jonathan Taylor isn't getting ran enough, the Colts lose. Daniel Jones looked good the first half, not so good in the second half. So unfortunately, the Chiefs, which historically have been bad against the Colts in the regular season, were not able to get this victory. Or the Colts weren't able to get this victory. Chiefs were able to get this victory. In our next matchup, we had the Packers just stomping the Vikings 23-6. Even though the Packers didn't have Josh Jacobs, they looked pretty much unstoppable that day. The Vikings have been up and down all season, inconsistent quarterback play. They haven't been able to get the ball to Justin Jefferson there, and their defense has been looking like a little bit porous. Some weeks they're just awesome looking, and some weeks they're really not. So it's kind of a coin toss. Anytime you fucking get the Vikings defense, they might be amazing. They might just be shit. Then we had the Lions going up against the Giants, and the Lions were able to take this one 34-27. It looked like the Giants were going to be able to get that victory. Winston was playing great, but the Lions just had too much, and Jahmyr Gibbs had one of the greatest days I've ever seen. So he had an amazing performance that day. So kind of hard to stop a Lions team when you have a running back that's that productive. In our next matchup, we had the Ravens going up against the Jets, and the Ravens took that one easily, 23-10, even though Lamar Jackson did not play. In our next matchup, we had the Patriots taking the victory over the Bengals, 26-20. This one actually was a pretty close game, very competitive, back and forth, but the Patriots able to pull this one out. They've been looking good all year, unfortunately, which makes me not too happy. Then in our next matchup, we had the Seahawks going against the Titans. Seahawks took this one 30-24. It was a pretty good matchup for the Titans, but the Seahawks have been dominant all year, and the Titans have been who they have been, which has been inconsistent on all levels, all across the team. Then we had the Jaguars going against the Cardinals. Jags, you took that victory 27-24. Jags actually the past 2-3 weeks have been looking like a really dominant team. Now they're catching up to the Colts in the AFC South. I think the Colts will be able to hold those ones off, though. I just don't think the Jaguars are all quite there. They do look like they've got most of their game going, but I just don't see them getting over that hump and getting into the playoffs. Right now, they are occupying a wild card position. I just don't see them actually fully getting into the playoffs. I think they will get bumped out near the end. Then we got the Browns going against the Raiders, and Shooter Sanders had his first matchup of the year, and he got that victory, 24-10. Browns have been looking amazing on defense the past 5, 6, 7 weeks. Who would have guessed the Browns defense would be this good? But they embarrassed the Raiders, sacking Geno Smith 10 times. So, fuck, man. Even the Raiders, you got to beat the Browns. But the Raiders have been looking pretty bad this year, and it's not surprising that they weren't able to get this victory. And Shooter Sanders getting his first start of the year, getting his first win of the year, and not only first start of the year, but his first start ever and his first win ever. He looked pretty dominant, only having a couple of days of practice with the first team guys. Looked pretty decent, and I think he's going to be somebody you're going to want to look out for. And maybe, just maybe, the Browns have finally found a quarterback to stick with. Then we had probably the matchup of the week with the Eagles going up against the Cowboys. The Cowboys ended up getting that victory 24-21. End of the game field goal. Cowboys came back 21-7. Ended up tying the game 21-20. Back and forth game from there on, and the Cowboys were able to get that victory. It was quite a comeback. If you had the pleasure to watch that game all the way through, you were in for a treat that day. In our next matchup, we had the Falcons going up against the Saints. The Falcons were able to take that 24-10. They don't have Penix Jr. He was lost to a knee injury this year, or last weekend. And Kirk Cousins has been who we always thought he was Kirk Cousins. And he's been an awesome quarterback. And now you're starting to figure out we're starting to figure out why they kept him around. Then in our Sunday night matchup, we had the Buccaneers going against the Rams, and I thought the Buccaneers were going to be able to, make this a really competitive game. I thought this was going to be the game of the week. It turned out to be the Eagles-Cowboys, but the Buccaneers lost this matchup 34-7 to the Rams. Rams just looked unstoppable. Then Week 12 ended on Monday night with the 49ers going up against the Panthers. The 49ers destroyed the Panthers. It didn't even look close. CMC was just going off. And George Kittle was putting in some action there. And Brock Purdy was just, weathering the storm. And he's been back. This is his second week back. And he looked like a very competent, the Brock Purdy we've come to know over the past few seasons here. All right. So that was everything in Week 12. Let's look ahead to what's going to be happening in Week 13. It's going to start off on Thursday night for Thanksgiving. Well, Thursday morning, really, because it's the first matchup is going to be the Packers going up against the Lions. In this one, Thanksgiving football, I'm going to take the Lions on this one. The Packers have been looking dominant all year long, especially last week, but I think the Lions are the better team overall. So definitely taking the Lions on that one. Then in the afternoon, we got the Chiefs going up against the Cowboys. This one's going to be a highly contested match, but I think the Cowboys are going to take it. Their offense has been looking pretty amazing in the past few weeks. Actually, all season, their offense has been looking great. It's the defense that's always been struggling, holding them back a little bit. But over these past at least 3 games, the Cowboys' defense has been looking awesome. Then, to end our Thursday night action, we've got the Bengals going up against the Ravens. In this one, Joe Burrow's coming back for the Bengals. At least that's what he's saying. Lamar Jackson's going to be back for the Ravens. I'm going to take the Ravens in this one. I think they've got the Bengals number on this match. And I think it's going to be an awesome matchup to watch. Hopefully we don't get a stinker. But, sometimes Thursday matchups aren't great. But this is a Thanksgiving matchup, so that kind of changes the narrative a little bit. Then we've got a game on Friday night, or Friday afternoon. The Bears going up against the Eagles. Even though the Eagles, some people are like, oh, what's going on with their offense? Is everything all right? I think the Eagles are going to take this victory pretty easily. The Bears have been looking pretty good, but I I don't think they're at that point where they can beat the Eagles. The Eagles are one of the best teams in the league, if not the best team in the league. So I think the Bears are going to have a hard time trying to get a victory there. So definitely taking the Eagles on that one. Then on Sunday, our action's going to start with the Falcons versus the Jets. And the Falcons are easily going to take this one. The Jets just haven't looked good. They're probably, if not the worst team in the league, the second worst. The Raiders might be the worst team in the league right now, but the Jets are not far behind. They're kind of 1A, 1B, or 32A and 32B, whatever you want to call it. In our next matchup, we have the 49ers going up against the Browns. Now, normally I would say the 49ers are just going to take this matchup and it's going to be a super easy one, but the Browns' defense has been looking amazing. So, and Shadur Sanders has been, not been, but well, he has in his last game, has been looking pretty well. So, I think this one's going to be a tight matchup. This might be a really good matchup to watch for the weekend. Probably one of the best matchups possibly in the morning. So 49ers versus Browns. I'm going to take the 49ers still to win, but I would not be surprised if the Browns actually end up taking this one. Then in our next matchup, we have the Rams going up against the Panthers. Panthers are in that bottom 5 of teams right now, and the Rams are in those upper echelon teams. And I think the Rams are going to take this one easily over the Panthers. Then we've got the Texans going up against the Colts. Well, Colts may not have looked great in the last 2 weeks, but I think they take this victory. And even though the Texans had an awesome matchup against the Bills, I don't think they have what it takes to take down the Colts. Obviously, taking the Colts on this one. I wonder why. Why would I? Why? You know. Come on. In our next matchup, we got the Cardinals going up against the Buccaneers. This one, it really all depends on if Baker Mayfield is actually playing or not. He is a little bit banged up. I am going to say the Buccaneers are going to win this one, but it could very easily go the other way, and the Cardinals could take this victory. But I think the Buccaneers have the early edge, the early lean, and have obviously looked like the better team this year. In our next matchup, we got the Saints and the Dolphins. This one's hard to say. The Saints have been progressing. They're still not that great. They're not all the way there. I think the Dolphins take this victory, although they haven't looked very good this year. Losing Tyreek Hill's a big thing. They had a lot of things happen to their defense. Obviously, they traded away a big piece of their defense to the Eagles. But I think the Dolphins still take this victory over the Saints. In our next matchup, we got the Jags and the Titans. I think the Jaguars take this one. The Titans are one of those bottom 5 teams like I've been talking about. And I don't think that they have anything. I don't think they have it all there to beat the Jaguars. So I'm definitely going to be taking the Jaguars on that. Next, we got the Vikings going up against the Seahawks. I'm taking Seahawks on this one. You can never really tell what the Vikings defense is going to be. And I don't see them being good this weekend against the Seahawks. Then we've got the Bills and the Steelers. Bills are going to have something to prove after that Thursday night loss to the Texans. So I think the Bills take this one. It might be a little bit closer than that if Rodgers is able to play. Rudolph has been looking pretty good, even though Rodgers hasn't been there. So, Rodgers is getting old. He might have another year left, but Rudolph might be their answer to the future. He didn't look like that right after Ben Roethlisberger left, but, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get into the groove of something. And then we've got the Raiders going against the Chargers. Another bottom 5 team. Raiders are definitely not winning this one. Chargers are taking that one easily. In our Sunday night football matchup, we've got the Broncos going against the Commanders. This one, if Jalen Daniel plays, I think is going to be a very competitive matchup. I'm still going to be taking the Broncos to take this victory, though. And then on Monday night, we've got the Giants going up against the Patriots. I don't have a lot of faith in the Giants, but I'm definitely not picking the Patriots. So, Giants all the way there. All right, so that's everything that happened in Week 12. What's happening next week in Week 13? Let's look at some news that happened around the NFL this week. Jackson Lamar, he practiced today. He missed last game with a toe injury, but he expects to play this weekend. So that's a big boost for the Ravens offense right there. The Bills signed veteran wide receiver Brandon Cook. So see if that can help out their wide receiver core at all. I know they've been having trouble with Coleman. He's been a healthy scratch at least the last two games. So having another weapon out there is never a problem for Josh Allen for sure. And then the Panthers on Monday night, Morrig punched Jennings in the dick. I get it. Maybe something was happening and he didn't mean to do it. Still kind of a shitty thing to do. Jennings overreacting like he did. Like, yeah, you're going to be mad. You got punched in the dick. But at the same time, you kind of look like a child fucking running around acting like that. You're on national TV. Come on, man. Aaron Rodgers, he obviously broke his non-throwing wrist 2 weekends ago, but he is expecting to play this Sunday after missing last week's game. Pacheco is going to be back in play after missing the last game with a knee injury, so hopefully he'll be able to get back on track. Although Kareem Hunt looked pretty good in the backfield last week, so take that for what it is. I think we're going to see, and probably on some kind of a pitch count type situation. Kareem Hunt was looking like Kareem Hunt of old, so I see them using both of them back to back. Pretty even split, I believe. The Seahawks are looking to add safety Diggs to their roster. Isn't confirmed yet, but that'd be a bolster to their defense. You always need more guys. Depth isn't bad. Joe Burrow, on the other hand, expects to play this weekend. He was activated 2 weeks ago off the 20 off of IR. Started his 21-day window where he could start practicing, and he is looking like he is ready to suit up and finally take the field again. Shedeur Sanders, like I was saying earlier, got his first win in his first game. Looked pretty good too. Had a massive 66-yard bomb to I think it was Jerry Jeudy. Looked awesome in the game, poised. For somebody that only had 3 weeks with the actual starting team, looked pretty good. Browns might have actually found something with this guy. The Saints decided to choose kicker York over Mr. Tucker in their kicker tryouts over the weekend. And Justin Tucker, downward spiral again. Nobody seems to want you, bud. Now, Baker Mayfield seems to have escaped injury on his left shoulder. Was obviously in some good pain near the end of that game. But he is hoping to start. It's uncertain, though. Right now, they have not made a decision on there. And Geno Smith flips off all the Raiders fans. A little pissed off. I'd be pissed off too if I was sacked 10 times because the Raiders' offensive line is just garbage. But, man, you don't need to flip off your own fans. Just because they're booing you, they are the Raiders. They're not the greatest fan base. They don't like losing. They don't take it. They don't take it very nicely. Now the Browns, on the other hand, they have been going sack crazy this year. In the last 5 games, they've had 28 sacks. Just unbelievable. It seems like they're almost looking at double-digit sacks every single time they come out onto the field. Myles Garrett's a huge reason behind that, but their defense has been playing amazing. So, if you've got the Browns in fantasy, you might want to keep starting them until they prove you wrong. All right, that's everything in our NFL slate. NFL action, news, all things like that. Now we're going to go over to our fantasy news. And our fantasy news is going to start off with the top threes at all positions last week. For quarterback, we had Jameis Winston, followed by Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott. For running backs, we had Jamar Gibbs, huge day, followed by Wilson, the backup running back for the Packers, and CMC, huge night on Monday. Then at wide receiver, we had Smith Najigba, followed by St. Brown, and George Pickens with another huge day. At tight end, we had Hunter Henry, Taylor McBride, and Loveland. Didn't see Loveland. I thought he was going to have a not the greatest week, but he turned out to put up a pretty good day. For defense, we had the Browns leading, followed by the Texans and the Cards. Like I said, the Browns had 28 sacks in the last 5 games. So that's huge. That's a big one. Next up, we've got my top 5 waiver wire pickups. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be somebody you're going to want to either put into your lineup and start him right away, or stash him on the bench for when you need him. Isaiah Pacheco, if he is not owned already in your league, somebody dropped him because he went out, I would pick him back up. Then we're going to have Patrick Washington. He's looking pretty dominant. Not bad, but pretty dominant. He seems like he's getting a lot of touches. So the volume that's going his way looks like it's going to be something that you're going to want to get into your lineup. If he's getting that many in a PPR league, you're definitely going to want to have him going. And then Loveland, if he's still available, you're going to want to pick him up for sure. And if the Browns' defense is something on the waiver wire, you're going to go ahead and pick them up. All right, that's all for our top 5s for waiver wire pickups. Now we're going to go to my perfect lineup for the weekend. I'm going to say you want to start Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, start Taylor and Henry for your running backs, Rice and McConkey for your wide receivers, Tyler Warren for your flex. I'm going to say you're going to want to put in Patrick Washington, Tyler Warren for your tight end, Patrick Washington for your flex, and the Jaguars defense. All right, so that's all for most of the fantasy news. Now we're going to go to the last of the fantasy news. We're going to talk about Clusterfuck 2, the fantasy football league that I talk about every single week, the fantasy football league that I run and operate in. Well, week 12, we had a lot of action happening. A lot of things happened. We'll start it off with the first matchup was Hot Tub Chime Machine. MLC, my team, going up against Pass the Dutch. Dan was able to take this 140.25 to 113.95. Then we had Caden's team, Riley Read Me a Book, losing to Mark Davis's Bullcut 152. Mark Davis Bullcut Simon's team 152.30 to 132.00. Then we had Les's team, Chase Ventura, going up against Bianca's team, HN and the Membrane. And Les took this victory easily, 202.35 to 138.95. In our next matchup, we had the GB Packers, Shane's team, going up against Graham's team, the Bench Whisperers. And the Bench Whisperers were able to get this victory 180.70 to 122.55. In our final matchup of the weekend, we have Protect Your Holes, Ty's team, going up against Don't Be a Kyra, Nathan's team. And Ty, you got this victory 178.20 to 134.75. Now, before we look ahead at what's going to be happening in Week 13, we've got 2 weeks left before playoffs happen in our fantasy league. So let's look at the standings and see what's going to be happening. So we've got Pass the Dutch leading the Happy Gilmore division at 8-3-1, followed by Simon's team 7-5-0, the Mark Davis Bull Cup, followed by Graham's team, the Bench Whisperers, at 6-5-1. And then we have Shane's team, the GB Packers, at 5-7. And rounding out the bottom, we've got Caden's team at 4-8, just sitting outside the playoffs there. Just to get you up to speed on it, the bottom team in each division does not make the playoffs. So right now, Caden is sitting on the outside. In our other division, we've got the Shooter McGavin division, which has Les's team, Chase Ventura, leading it 8-4. Then we have my team, the Hot Chub Time Machine, MLC, at 7-5. Tied with Ty's team at 7-5. Protect Your Holes. Then we've got Nathan's team, Don't Be a Kyron, at 4-8. And Bianca's team, HN and the Membrane, at 3-9. So, let's break this down a little bit by looking ahead to the matchups that are going to be happening. Obviously, in the Happy Gilmore division, the final playoff spot is between Shane and Caden. A loss by Shane next week and a win by Caden would have them tied. Shane takes the tiebreaker there. So basically, Caden, you need to win your next 2 games, and you have to have Shane lose his next 2 games for you to be able to get into the playoffs. I don't think there's any way that Graham's team is going to fall into that. So pretty much everyone above Shane in the Happy Gilmore division are already in the playoffs. So that would be Dan's team past the Dutch, Simon's team, the Mark Davis Bullcut, and Graham's team, the Bench Whisperers. They are looking like they are into the playoffs. Now, into the Shooter McGavin division. Les, your team, Chase Ventura, my team, Hot Chub Time Machine, MLC, and Ty's team, Protector Holes, are all the way through into the playoffs. It is now down to Nathan, Don't Be a Kyron, and Bianca, HN and the Membrane. So, with Nathan sitting at 4-8 and Bianca sitting at 3-9, Nathan, you lose this weekend. Bianca, you win this weekend. You'll be sitting in a playoff spot. Basically, you need Nathan to lose his next 2 matchups, and you need to win your next 2 matchups, and you'll be in the playoffs because you have the point advantage on him. But obviously, with 2 victories and 2 losses by Nathan, that will put you at 5-9 and him at 4-10. So when we look at the matchups that are happening this week, we have HN and the Membrane going up against Don't Be a Kyron. So Bianca and Nathan are into that one right there. So basically, winner of this matchup, if it's Bianca, then it's going to come down to the final week. If Nathan gets this victory, it is all but over for Bianca to get to the playoffs. She'll be at 3-10. Nathan would be at 5-8. And that would be that. On the other side, we've got Caden's team going up against Shane's team. Now, this is the exact same scenario as the other side. If Shane gets the victory, Caden's out. If Caden gets the victory, it will come down to the final week. Then in our other matchup, we have the Bench Whisperers, Graham's team, going up against Dan's team past the Dutch. Then we've got Les's team going up against Simon's team. Chase Ventura versus the Mark Davis Bullcut. And then we have my team, the Hot Chub Time Machine, going up against Ty's team, Protect Your Holes. So a lot of good action that's going to be happening in week 13. A lot of things can happen. See what happens. We could have pretty much everything decided by the end of the weekend for what's going to be happening, who's going to be in the playoffs, who's not going to be in the playoffs. So everyone, thanks for joining me once again. Wonderful day. If you like this video, like, comment, and share. Get this video out to as many people as you can. If you want to get updates on when this next episode is going to be coming out, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, if you can't get enough of Upon Further Review, check out upon.furtherreview on Instagram, where I'll be throwing up UFR reports and information on when, what's going to be going on with the episodes. If there's going to be anything special, if I'm going to have anybody on. Working towards getting a program set up so we can have people on the show. Hopefully we get that started sooner than later. If not, maybe we'll have to get that in next year. But thanks for joining me once again. I'll be back next week to to break down everything you need to know.